Well, g'day guys. This is the Life on the Peloton Chronicles, and this episode I want to give you guys a little sneak peek to what it is to do a Grand Tour. Sveino and I are unpacking what it is to do a Grand Tour. I'm here at the Tour de France as you speak, and I thought, how good would it be to do an episode based around these big things? It's not just about the Tour de France, it's about all the Grand Tours, but we get into the Tour de France as well. Here is a little sneak peek to what the members get at the Pelo. So guys, sit back and enjoy this one, and if you do want to hear more and plus get access to all the other benefits that the Pelo members are getting in, you've got to go across and sign up and become part of the echelon, or if you want to hang back in the doom line, that works as well. But for now, sit back and enjoy a little sneak preview of what the Pelo members are tapping into each month. Sveino, Swain Tuft, how are you been? How have you been, bud?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing well, buddy. I've been busy.
I thought it'd be really cool, similar to the Classics episode, to sort of unpack what Grand Tours are, not just the tour, but these 3-week beasts, because they are really sort of different. There's nothing else like them in the season. You know, just from of course, you know, looking at the stages and the way it runs, but the mentality and what it does to your body and the stress that it does before trying to go there. And there's a whole lot to unpack. I thought I'd just quickly do a recap on sort of the history of the 3 Grand Tours. You know, the tour started first in 1903. The Giro followed very quickly after in 1909. And look, the Vuelta kicked off in 1935. But in those days, and this is something we've spoken about this sometimes, how we could ever imagine this, but in those days, it was the Vuelta first in April, followed by the Giro in May, then you do the tour. So like you'd sort of get to halfway through the year. And this is sort of up until 1995, until not that long ago. It was in August. And in the 1940s, they actually squeezed it in June. They did the Giro, May, the Vuelta, the tour. And we've joked about this, that could you imagine doing 3 Grandies in a row? Well, in the 1940s, they did. I don't even know how many days they had off, but it wouldn't have been many.
Wow. I didn't know that. That there was a period where you'd have like a week or a bit more maybe in between.
Could it even be that much?
No, I mean,
they're 3 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. So you just kind of stayed on the road on a mission. Well, Adam Hansen would have thrived in that situation, I reckon, then.
I'm glad you brought it up because 34 riders in history have done all Grand Tours in 1 year.
34?
And there's only 34 riders that have done it.
Yeah.
And Adam Hansen did 6 years
I remember that.
3 Grand Tours in a row. He started in 2011 with the Vuelta, and he finished in 2018 with the Giro. Did not miss a day of a Grand Tour, 20 in a row. That's the record.
It's so impressive. It's so impressive. And I want to share a little story, actually. I remember talking to him about it because I was always just like, it just seems so crazy to me because like I would do the Giro Tour sometimes and just be like, okay, yeah, I'm done, you know? And I couldn't imagine. But then the way he kind of explained it, how it makes sense for him, is that he doesn't do all of the other races in between. So, he might do like a stage race, a week-long stage race at the very beginning of the year and then prepare for the Giro, right? And then he kind of goes from there to the Tour, to the Vuelta. And maybe he did some more races here and there in between. But like he said, the simplicity of it was you're just preparing for a Grand Tour, right? There wasn't all of this other stuff. Like, Northern Classics brings a whole other, like, you remember, like, you do the Northern Classics and then you're like going to the Giro and you're kind of like you've been in Northern Classics mode, which means you're generally a bit bigger. You've been working on like your 1 minute, 2 minute powers kind of thing. Like,
yeah, the physical standpoint. What about all the other stuff? And this is something he told me too, is that I don't have to travel. I don't have to do it because he didn't love all that stuff either.
Yeah.
He goes, it was so simple for him. When he came home, he was home. It's a bit more like the life we sort of live now outside of cycling. You're not like just got that suitcase at the door all the time going, cool, I'm going to take out my kit, I'm going to wash it, I'm going to put it back in because I'm off in 2 days.
Yeah.
He was just like, when I'm home for a month. when I'm away for a month. He'd clock up, let's say he did, the 3 grandies, that's 63 days plus maybe another 10, 70, 75 days a year.
That's a lot.
Like it's a lot, but he just clocked it up in those blocks. Like numerous times I did 75 days a year, but I got them made up of maybe 1 grand tour, maybe none. In Skill Shimano, I did 90 days a year with no grandies.
Yeah,
Can you imagine how busy you were?
So that's one thing I was just thinking when you said that too, is him being on that program would probably kind of protect him from those crazy late director call-ups, like hey mate, you get the phone call from the director and you're like, oh no, you're at home for like 2 or 3 weeks or something. Hey mate, this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden you got to fly out to San Sebastian. And, because they'd be like, well, Adam's he's preparing for the Vuelta. So we can't, it's
and he's just done the tour, the Giro tour, so we're not going to throw him a curveball.
Yeah.
Tell me about. Let's go right back to the beginning of our experiences, and for you, tell me about your first Grand Tour experience. I don't know if I've ever heard this story. How it all came about, the feelings, the excitement, and then I guess on from there.
Yeah, so that was 2009, and I was riding with Garmin. And it was crazy because so I'd kind of had a big year the year before. I'd been second at the World Championships in the time trial. And I kind of came on to the team like they expected. Dude, I'd never really raced in Europe properly. And they're just kind of like, yeah, so we're going to put you in the Giro and then, we'll send you to the Tour kind of thing. And I don't know if the plan was just to ride me partway through the Giro, and I didn't know anything, so I was just kind of like, oh, that'll be interesting. Anyways, I ended up crashing in the Tour of California, getting a massive concussion, and the whole first half of that year was just buggered, like basically a throwaway. And I started coming around towards the second half. I went to like Tour of Austria and these kinds of things, and then I got put on the Vuelta, which I was like, oh, cool, this is going to be great. And I did that classic kind of new guy thing where you're like, well, I'm going to train like you would be preparing for a Grand Tour. At the time that was kind of my first year. And cycling is so different now. There's sports scientists in the team that are tracking everything you do. You have a coach that's like working synergistically with the whole management, right? Like kind of updates. And there's all this data, right? And I think I was just kind of loosely working with someone from the team, but this was kind of just on the verge of that whole training peaks and constant loading up of each rider's daily movements, right?
Like I remember too, like I turned pro in 2009, and at least 2009, 2010, I would be sent a program and I would just send back my SRM files like once a week, maybe once a month, just like a download into a folder.
Yeah.
And he would maybe look at them. But like, how outdated is that by then?
Ridiculous when you think of how.
Why would you even look at it?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pull this file, wait for it to download into this ancient software.
A month later.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Mitch, you were actually doing way too much there, pal. So how did that work out? Oh yeah, I see. You didn't finish any of the races. So yeah. I remember I had my family, like my brother and his kids came over, and my mom all came to visit. I was living out in Banyoles, and I was just training the house down. My brother we were going out on the scooter. It was those days, out in that Catalan countryside where it's just cooking 35, 38. You see on the pharmacy signs on the little villages, right? And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to be ready for this Vuelta, And I showed up and I was already just completely cooked, absolutely cooked. And like, that is a race where you do not want to be like, if I think back to the time, like the word that I would explain myself was I was just dry. I was dry already of any like life or juice or energy. It was like, that term like barren or fallow fields, like a field that you use a lot or you grow a lot of things with, you have to let it sit for a few seasons to like
get some nutrients into
get some
it.
Yeah. I was a fallow field. Man, I suffered through that thing. And, it was, I can't remember what objectives we had, but I was just in survival mode pretty much from day one. And I'll never forget they kind of changed the plan. They're like, oh yeah, we'll pull you out for the time trial, the World Championships time trial, stage 15 or something. And I remember just like barely making it to stage 15. And I was like, you know how you just like can be a little delusional. You're like, yeah, no, they're pulling me out for the TT, you know, like just been saving the legs the last few days. Meanwhile, like I'm just hanging on the bunch, like just waiting for some kind of gruppetto to form. And like, you're like drinking bottles and it just feels like it's doing nothing. It's going nowhere. Like it's just dry and parched and dehydrated. Like I just cooked myself. I was just cooked.
Doing your first Grandy is hard anyway, you know, because you don't know what it is. It's the unknown. It is, I think you build it up mentally as well. But I think, as exactly what you said, a massive trait is to go in, because you're so scared of the unknown, you go in actually already fucked.
Yeah.
And so that makes your first Grandy even harder.
Yeah, you get scarred by that. It's like, I remember
super scarred.
The next year I did the Giro and I was just like, I mean, I was lucky I didn't know a lot about a lot of this stuff. So I could be a bit like delusional. I was like that Vuelta experience. I did not have, I guess, you know, part of being a cyclist, because I'm trying to think back, like it's just really that kind of goldfish mentality. Like you finish a thing and you're like, oh, I'm good. Yeah. And then you immediately start believing the training you're doing is good now and all of these things, right? It's just how it has to work. Otherwise, you just wouldn't do it.
Well, there we go, guys. Just a little sneak peek. It's pretty good. I tell you what, I'm really enjoying this series because I get to just sit back and do long yarns with my good mate, Svein Tuft. If you like what you heard there, like I said, get across and sign up to the Pelo. You head across to lifeinthepeloton.com and just navigate your way across to the Pelo. Sign up for the Echelon or the Doomline, whatever suits your needs. If you are an Echelon member, you will receive one of the Life in the Peloton books, plus get access to the exclusive brand discounts that we've got involved. Plus, there's a lot of other benefits as well. These episodes are coming to you once a month. Go back and listen to the archive. We've done lots of stuff, but for now, this one is based around Grand Tours. I'm going to get back to the Tour de France right now, guys. So until the next episode, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you across in the Echelon or right back in there in the Doom line. Cheers, guys.